Last time we stopped reading at this where the Venerable Malunkyaputta kind of threatened the Buddha that if the Buddha doesn't answer these questions, he will leave, he will abandon the training and return to the lower life. I'll continue with number 3. Then when it was evening, the Venerable Malunkyaputta rose from meditation and went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and told him, "Here, Venerable Sir, while I was alone in meditation, the following thought arose in my mind. These speculative views have been left undeclared by the Blessed One. If he does not declare this to me, then I will abandon the training and return to the lower life. If the Blessed One knows the world is eternal, let the Blessed One declare to me the world is eternal. If the Blessed One knows the world is not eternal, let the Blessed One declare to me the world is not eternal. If the Blessed One does not know either the world is eternal or the world is not eternal, then it is straightforward for one who does not know and see to say, I do not know and see. If the Blessed One knows the world is finite, the world is infinite, the soul is the same as the body, the soul is one thing and the body another. After death, a Tathagata exists. After death, a Tathagata does not exist. If the Blessed One knows after death, a Tathagata both exists and does not exist, let the Blessed One declare that to me. If the Blessed One knows after death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, let the Blessed One declare that to me. If the Blessed One does not know, either after death, a Tathagata both exists and does not exist, or after death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, then it is straightforward for one who does not know and see to say, I do not know and see. Okay, so this is like the opening statement from Venerable Malunkyaputta to the Buddha. Number 4, Sister Singhui, would you like to read?
How then, Malunkyaputta, did I ever say to you, come, Malunkyaputta, let the spiritual life under me, and I will declare to you, the world is eternal, or after death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist. No, Venerable Sir, did you ever tell me, I will let the spiritual life under the Blessed One, and the Blessed One will declare to me the world is eternal? Or after death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist? No, Venerable Sir. That being so, misguided man, who are you and what are you abandoning?
Thanks, Sister Singhui. So this is one of the sutta where the Buddha called the other person misguided man. Other translation you will see a foolish man. The Buddha had no qualms in calling people foolish or stupid or misguided. So here, when the Venerable threatens the Buddha doesn't just take it. The Buddha tells him, when did I ever say that I will declare to you these questions? Yeah, did I ever say to you such a thing? Lead the spiritual under me, and then I will declare to you all of these questions you pose to me. Let me highlight this. Okay, Sister Sakya, would you like to continue?
If anyone should say thus, I will not lead the spiritual life under the Blessed One until the Blessed One declares to me the world is eternal, or after death a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, that would still remain undeclared by the Tathagata, and meanwhile that person would die. Suppose, Malunkyaputta, a man was wounded by an arrow, thickly smeared with poison, and his friends and companions, his kinsmen and relatives, brought a surgeon to treat him. The man would say, I will not let the surgeon pull out this arrow until I know whether the man who wounded me was a Khattiya, a Brahmin, a merchant, or a worker. And he would say, I will not let the surgeon pull out the arrow until I know the name and clan of the man who wounded me, until I know whether the man who wounded me was tall, short, or of middle height, until I know whether the man who wounded me was dark, brown, or golden skin, until I know whether the man who wounded me lives in such a village, town, or city, until I know whether the bow that wounded me was a long bow or a crossbow, until I know whether the bowstring that wounded me was fiber, reed, sinew, hem, or bark, until I know whether the shaft that wounded me was wild or cultivated, until I know with what kind of feathers the shaft that wounded me was fitted, whether those of a vulture, a heron, a hawk, a peacock, or a stork, until I know with what kind of sinew the shaft that wounded me was bound, whether that of an ox, a buffalo, a deer, or a monkey, until I know what kind of arrowhead it was that wounded me, whether spike or razor tip, or curved, or barbed, or carved tooth, or lancet shape. All these would still not be known to that man, and meanwhile he would die. So too, Malunkyaputta, if anyone should say thus, I will not lead the spiritual life under the Blessed One until the Blessed One declares to me the world is eternal, or after death, the Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, that would still remain undeclared by the Tathagata, and meanwhile, that person would die. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Sakya, for reading this long paragraph. Here, the Buddha is very detailed, giving this simile very detailed. Yeah, if such a person were to ask such very long-winded questions, instead of letting the surgeon treat the arrow, not treat the arrow, but treat the wound. Yeah, if the person were to very stubborn, were to ask such a question, he would die before he even get all the answers to these questions. Sister Chaikwa, would you like to read next?
6. Malunkyaputta. If there is the view, the world is eternal, the spiritual life cannot be lived. And if there is the view, the world is not eternal, the spiritual life cannot be lived. Whether there is the view, the world is eternal, or the view, the world is not eternal. There is birth, there is aging, there is death, there are sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, and despair, the destruction of which I prescribe here and now. If there is a view, the world is finite, the world is infinite. The soul is the same as the body, the soul is one thing, and the body another. After death, a Tathagata exists. After death, a Tathagata does not exist. The spiritual life cannot be lived. If there is the view, After death, a Tathagata both exists and does not exist. The spiritual life cannot be lived. And if there is the view, after death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist. The spiritual life cannot be lived. Whether there is a view, after death, a Tathagata both exists and does not exist, or the view after death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist. There is birth, there is aging, there is death. There are sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, and despair, the destruction of which I prescribe here and now. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Chekwan. Here the Buddha, after giving the simile, comes back again to the main point, to the views that the Malunkyaputta posed to the Buddha. Yeah, the Buddha listed on all these views. Whenever this view is true or not true, there is still something much more important. There's birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, all kinds of suffering. And more importantly, the destruction of it, which the Buddha prescribed here and now. The same with all of these other views. Whether there's all these views, the same conclusion. Aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, all kinds of sufferings still exist, and the destruction of them, which the Buddha prescribed, is also there. Sister Aikim, would you like to continue?
7. Therefore, Malunkyaputta, Putta, remember what I have left undeclared or as undeclared, and remember what I have declared as declared. And what I have I left undeclared? The world is eternal. I have left undeclared. The world is not eternal. I have left undeclared. The world is finite. I have left undeclared. The world is finite. I have left undeclared. The soul is the same as the body. I have left undeclared. The soul is one thing and the body another. I have left undeclared. After death, a Tathagata exists. I have left undeclared. After a death, a Tathagata does not exist. I have left undeclared. After death, a Tathagata both exists and does not exist. I have left undeclared. After a death, a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist. I have left undeclared. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Aikim. Back again, all these views that Venerable Malunkyaputta listed, the Buddha left all of them undeclared. Why exactly? We'll read in number 8. Sister Billy, should I continue?
Why have I left that undeclared? Because it is unbeneficial. It does not belong to the fundamentals of the spiritual life. It does not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. That is why I've left it undeclared. And what have I declared? This is suffering, I have declared. This is the origin of suffering, I have declared. This is the cessation of suffering, I have declared. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering, I have declared. Why have I declared that? Because it is beneficial, it belongs to the fundamentals of the spiritual life, it leads to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. That is why I have declared it. Therefore, Malunkyaputta, remember what I have left undeclared as undeclared, and remember what I have declared as declared. That is what the Blessed One said. The Venerable Malunka Buddha was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. Majjhima Nikaya 63, Kulama Lunkia Sutta.
Sadhu,
Thank
sadhu,
you.
sadhu. Thanks, Sister Billy. There's one footnotes here, footnotes number 2. Those who have always wondered about the fate of the monk who almost left the Buddha to satisfy his metaphysical curiosity would be relieved to know that in his old age, Malunka Buddha received a brief discourse on the sixth sense basis from the Buddha, went into retreat, and attained arahantship. See Samyutta Nikaya 35-95. Gladly, this venerable did not leave the Buddha, did not return back to the homeless life, and in fact attained arahantship. So back again, all these views posed to the Buddha is left undeclared. Why? Because here it stated unbeneficial, does not belong to the fundamentals of the spiritual life, does not lead to Nibbana. Just like asking all those questions about arrow, where does the arrow comes from, who shot the arrow, what is the skin color of the people, of the person who shot the arrow. Yeah. You ask that question, you will die before you can even get the answer to these questions. And what exactly have the Buddha declared? The Four Noble Truths. Back to the Four Noble Truths. This is suffering, this is the origin of suffering, this is the cessation of suffering, this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. This the Buddha have declared. Why did the Buddha declare this? Because it is beneficial, because it leads to Nibbana. Okay, that's it for this sutta. Next time we will continue with the hard work of the spiritual life. Any questions or comments?
It's not a question, but well, it's not a question related to the text we read, but I just want to clarify, did the Buddha, were there 2 stories or just this story about the 2 arrows? Okay, I seem to have gotten myself confused whether there was a second story where the Buddha also used a 2-arrow analogy. Has it got to do with the one where he said, you know, if you have an arrow shot to you, then not seeking help or something would be like, you know, not shooting a second arrow at yourself, something like that. Was I mistaken?
No, you're correct. Okay, does anyone else would like to answer? Maybe second.
Indeed, there are two stories. I mean, 2 suttas on the stories of arrow. Just now, that one actually is only 1 arrow, yeah, with poison smeared, and the venerable want to go and find out what type of arrow it is. Another sutta talks about the second arrow. That means you have been shot by the first arrow, you will have the physical suffering. And if mentally you go and think about it, the feeling arises, then you say, oh, it's a painful feeling. And then from there, you go on to have perception, to have all this mental formation and consciousness coming in, and it will lead you to the mental suffering. So you will have more suffering besides the physical suffering. So you have 2 arrows, yeah, on you.
Okay, that's a good question, Sister Shamay. Actually, what you mentioned on the 2 arrows is actually called 2 darts and is on the same book as well. If you go back to chapter 1, there's this section, second section, the tribulations of unreflected living. That's the first sutta of that chapter. Maybe let me share the screen quickly. can take a look again at that book earlier. Yeah, this is here. It's called The Dart of Painful Feeling. Thanks for the question, Sister Shami. Good reference. Very good memory. And thanks, Sister Second, for answering the questions. How about others? Any questions or comments?
Actually, it's very true, right? Even when we know the earth is round, even when we know, your body has all these cells, all these atoms and all that, but does it help you in your life? You still go through aging, sickness, and death. So the truth is the truth, lah. So Buddha said, you don't have to find out all these answers, all this knowledge. It's just a form of knowledge. Does it help you in your spiritual life? Does it make you suffer less if you know that the earth is round? People previously, we didn't know, right? All these physics, all these metaphysics things. You still have old age, sickness, and death. So basically, the Buddha is so wise. Yeah. Because when this venerable Malungkya Buddha, he first went to see the Buddha with all these questions, Buddha asked him, who are you? And do you know how to abandon your suffering? These are the main things that we want to cultivate. We want to find out, why are we suffering? We want to abandon that suffering. And you look deeply to look at yourself, rather than you go and reach out to the all these external thing. Why does the river flow from the mountain top down to lower? Why is there gravity? All this will not lead you to enlightenment. So yeah, this is one of the suttas that the Buddha is always so wise. He will challenge and make you go and think about it. And then he will give all this simile, which is so useful for us to remember. Yeah.
Yeah. If all those scientists directed all their efforts to meditate and reach enlightenment, perhaps they would have been enlightened. But instead, they use all their time and brain power to explore all these questions about the external worlds. And talking about that, and physics keep changing anyway. People have always believed in the past that the world rotates around the earth. And then until, I forget who, but someone discovered that all the planets actually rotate around the sun. So even physics keep evolving. When there's a new discovery, it will change the truth to that, the most recent discovery. But the truth always remains the same. What is the truth? Birth, aging, death is still affect all of us. That's very true. Thanks for the comment, Second. Anyone else would like to add?
If that's the case, I mean, okay, given that we read this sutta, how do you reconcile with ehipassiko, the need to go and investigate? Is there a chance that there may be some gray areas? Am I making sense?
Okay, well, what do you mean? Do you have specific examples?
No, I'm just wondering, in what we just read today, versus the Buddha's teaching on ehipassiko, which is to go out and investigate, right? You don't just believe just based on blind faith.
Yes.
Is there some overlapping? Yeah.
Actually, Buddha doesn't say go out and investigate. He said go in and investigate. Look deep inside. Look at yourself. Look at your body and your mind. Understand the 5 aggregates. Understand the 6 sense base when you contact, when feeling arise. You're supposed to look at that. Yeah. And ehipassiko, yes, you should come and practice and find out for yourself. You should go and cultivate whatever I have, teach you about the Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path. Does right speech, right livelihood, right action lead to wholesomeness, leads to peace, leads to happiness? Does practicing the four immeasurables, metta, karuna, and so on, is it beneficial for your life? Yeah, you should come and investigate before you just take whatever that is preached as the truth. You should go and investigate and see whether it is the truth or not. I think that's what Ehipasiko is. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks again. So when Ehipasiko is mentioned, like the second mentioned, the Buddha always refers to come and see, investigate his teachings. Find out for yourself whether his teachings are true or not. Yeah. The Buddha didn't say, come and see, investigate the external world and see how it works. Usually it's not that way in the sutta. Even though some scientists do that and have come up with all interesting theory, and we are also thankful to them. With all their discovery, our external world becomes much better. But what the Buddha always focuses on is his teachings to liberation, which affects everyone, affects the whole humanity. Thanks for the question again, Sister Shirley. Anyone else would like to add again?
Just a quick one. Just now, as Sister Second was sharing about being focused on what is actually important and not focused on the rest, right? Then the thought of like, my son will keep asking me like, why do I have to learn chemistry? I'm not going to use it anyway next time.
That is for
But
the
after
degree.
when Sister Shomi commented, right, it's like, yeah, I mean, we currently, likely we still have to have a balance, right? To still live on, to keep our economy going on. It's unfortunate that we still have to learn all this knowledge, and I have got no idea whether he's going to use it next time. Yeah, but having a spiritual cultivation keep us grounded to know what is the actually important thing, other than when we're busy learning so that we can make a living, but having that the focus at the base is important. Yeah. Thank you.
So how did you answer your son?
I just tell him I'm not sure if I'm going to use it, but at that your current status is a requirement for you to study. Yeah.
Okay.
This may or may not be related to your son's question, but it's interesting that if we didn't have those concepts, scientific concepts in school, we would not understand quite a lot of things in the Dharma. For instance, change, impermanence. Actually, impermanence is the main thing that is so scientific, but that's of course just the Dharma, and we're not allowed to go and teach him the Dharma at this point of time. But for me personally, I hated chemistry. But this few weeks, because I'm learning how to bake bread, how to make bread, and I realized, and I took up a couple of books from the library, and I realized that because my foundation of chemistry is so poor, I had to recall or relearn what I should have learned better in school.
Does learning chemistry really help you to bake bread better?
Yeah, bread is a science. Making bread is a science.
I mean, you just need to know what to mix and when to mix and how to.
No. I think you need to know why it works like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think so too. As in, like when we are doing math yesterday, they have to learn similarity and what congruency. So I'm like, after going through, it's like, actually it's not like math, but it helps you widen your perspective. You have to look at things in another area. So it's like it's way to expand your mind. It's not just like the subject, right? But it's like, yeah, I think it's useful some way, but they just can't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, like Sister Shomei, I hate chemistry too. Yeah. Even until now, out of the math, physics, and chemistry, I hate chemistry the most. But for math, I can attest the usefulness of it. In the real world, we might not use all this integral, what is called imaginary numbers. But the methodology, the systematic problem solving of doing a math problems, it helps to wire your brain in a certain way that is transferable to solve problems in real life as well. That is the usefulness of math that I can attest, that I can wire my brain in a certain way to be able to solve real world problem in a much more methodical, systematic manner. That's a very good question. Thanks, Sister Singhui. Very good sharing today. Anyone else would like to add? If not, Sister Saikang, would you like to do the dedication?
Dedication of merits 回向，愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，不愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。
Thanks, Sister Saikang. Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a peaceful Sunday ahead. Thanks everyone for the discussion. Very nice sharing today.
Bye.
See you guys next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.